Right now, I can't breathe. The irony of some Jews and secret societies helping a bunch of Nazi sympathizers. It's just insane. But when you understand the Havana Agreement and things like this, you understand that yes, it's exactly how it is. When you actually do your research, you understand why they're working together. Anyway, listen to this part.
It had been known literally for decades that Nazi criminals came to the United States. The U.S. government had prosecuted hardly any of them, but we have been more successful in the last 3 decades than any other country on the face of the earth in pursuing justice on behalf of the victims of Nazi crimes.
Okay, so a lot of those Nazi criminals when prosecuted, and they had children and so on and so forth. And this is on top of Operation Paperclip. This is not including Operation Paperclip. Hundreds of Nazi scientists. There was something, there was really thousands of Nazis integrated into the government in every field. And this was done in the name of national security, in the name of advancing technology, in the name of valuing intellect over superstition. So they didn't care who these people killed. They cared, or the morality of it. They cared about their quote-unquote intellect and what they could contribute to the nation. Let me get to this part with this guy pulls out a gun on him. Okay, so to think that the Nazi sentiment died among these people and their families is preposterous. Listen to this part.
In our cases, reporters went out to interview him, and he came out with a gun through his front door and actually began shooting at reporters. When Kolmhofer was then rushed by the police, he looked up at them and in his broken English said what turned out to be the last words he ever uttered. In broken English, he said, "What for you shoot me? I not Jew." So I guess old habits die hard.
Whether or not he deserved it is another issue, but I would venture to say that these people set him up. They harassed him until he started acting up, and then they covertly killed him once after he was in custody. I don't know this for sure, but it certainly seems like that to me. Or that what happened could have induced a heart attack in him, or however he died. They didn't say. But I would caution you from thinking that the Jews are just some kind of innocent victims in all of this. The fact that this guy has a high place in the government, shows you a lot of, as soon as you become part of the government, your political party, you take a certain responsibility. You're an accomplice. Ironically, they charged this guy as an accomplice, one of these guys, an accomplice in 28,000 murders, when they're an accomplice in gang stalking and, or psychological warfare all the time. So on record, Nazi sympathizers are in America. And on record, there are occultists working behind the scenes, and sure, there's some Jews that know how I feel about it. There's some Jews that actively seek out Nazis, yes. But on the other side of the story, there are some even more powerful Jews who don't necessarily give a shit, and they just want, to establish Israel and to make it a powerful force in the world, with the most up-to-date weapons and technology. And so, when you understand how they think, and don't forget, I believe it was the Jewish Chronicle or some Jewish newspaper praised Galton. So on record, it's not just me saying this, on record, there's Jewish eugenicists. On record. I believe it was, I forgot the date. It was December, I almost want to say, it was the early 1900s, whenever it was, or before the mid-1900s. December, Margaret Sanger said that we don't want it to get out that we're trying to destroy the Negro population. And so, the early eugenicists had black people in mind. So did the Jews in the newspaper, who praised Francis Galton. So listen to, this is the sickest irony of all. Listen to the end part. What he says biological. Listen.
Even if it takes the rest of their lives, and even if they flee thousands of miles to places like the United States. And a message to the would criminals. We are, as we have been for decades really, in a race against the Grim Reaper, and increasingly the Grim Reaper wins. The most important reason it's not fair that survivors in our country should have to share their adopted homeland with their former tormentors and
it's very interesting how they say that. Well, there's Jews who are tormenting me for my political views. They are gassing me, they're harassing me, them and their white allies. So I have to share the place I was born, you know, my homeland, not even adopted, but, you know, where I was born. My family was, you know, some of the first people who came here on the Mayflower, with the people who haven't just historically tormented me, but are still tormenting me and covertly drugging me and gassing me, and they wish for me to adopt their evil occult philosophies, you know, in order for them to go easy on me, as they say.
in some cases, the killers of members of their families. There is the so-called biological solution, as Simon Wiesenthal used to say, to the
biological solution. I mean, it is exactly what your tribe is doing, you know, your ethnic group. Jews are doing the final solution, so to speak, on all of society with people who are Nazi sympathizers on record. You know, they have been caught, you know, on record. I have seen them with my own eyes. It's been reported time and time again by the victims. You know, why don't you people stop, you know? Why do you people always want to get sympathy for yourselves, but you don't want to point out what your people are doing? Your people are some of the major international financiers, some of the major people in charge of the IMF and the World Bank, but you allow this Holocaust to happen. You know, you funded a lot of the major, you know, feminist movements that created abortion, you know, that legalized abortion and Roe versus Wade and all this stuff. You know, this goes back to Warburg and Rockefeller and Rothschild, you know, when there were factors when that decision was made, and they had a lot to do with it, you know, meeting on Jekyll Island and whatnot. And, you know, you were some of the major people pushing this stuff, and 43 million people die every year. Far more people in 1 year died than Jews died during the whole time of World War II. And you contribute, you know. I mean, you know, my thing is, you know, when Jews take responsibility for what they're doing right now, then they won't be complete hypocrites for looking at just what has happened to Jews, you know, all these years ago in World War II. You know, what is, you know, I mean, I'm not saying the history is irrelevant, but I'm saying that you need to take responsibility for what you're doing. You know, you need to redistribute a lot of your wealth because it's blood money. You need to take responsibility. You need to stop covertly drugging people, covertly experimenting on people. I mean, you know, who was involved in MK Ultra? A bunch of fucking Jews. Jews and white people. Like I said, they've been caught on record doing psychological and biological and chemical warfare on people and covert experiments on record. Even radioactive experiments, radiation experiments on record. Okay, after the Nuremberg codes and after World War II in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Okay? I mean, how can you sit there as if you're some kind of innocent victim and, you know, you're doing this great job and you're going to pretend like Hitler had no point at all, that you had nothing to do with, you know, global events, that, you know, that you're not plotting on people. I mean, come on. Come on. You know, be honest here. You know, have some fucking dignity. Have some self-respect. Have some honesty. You know, tell the truth. Tell the truth. You know, let me look this up for you, because I don't think you people truly feel me about this. We'll type in Sidney Gottlieb. He was an American chemist. You know, you're talking about biological solution, right? American chemist and spy master. You know, assassination attempts in mind control program. You know, son of Hungarian Jewish immigrant parents. You know, right here in California. You got, you know, it was going, the majority of MK Ultra took place in California. And he got his PhD in chemistry from California Institute of Technology. You know? Poison expert. Chemical division. He headed the chemical division of the CIA. See, and this is in 1951. So on record, when the CIA and Operation Paperclip was going down, a Jew, at the same time as these motherfuckers, because remember, World War II ended in 1945, there was Nazi scientists working in the CIA, and when this guy joined the CIA as a poison expert. So don't you sit there like you're the fucking good guys and that fucking you couldn't do no harm and you're the only victims in the world. You are some of the main victimizers in the world. You have disproportionately victimized people, you know. You victimized far more people than Jews have been victims, you know, period. Let's look at Franz Kallman, a German-born American psychiatrist, was one of the pioneers in the study of the genetic basis of psychiatric disorders. And anyone who knows anything about psychiatry and eugenics knows that Kallman studied under a Nazi. Okay, right here. Paradoxically, he had been a student of Dr. Ernst Rudin, one of the architects of racial hygiene policies in Nazi Germany. I mean, on fucking record, mainstream history, you're a bunch of eugenicists talking about the biological, you know, or the genetic basis of psychiatric disorders. Okay? Genetic, biological dysfunction. You're the people downplaying environmental factors. You know? And you studied under the Nazis on record. On fucking record, okay, before, during, and after World War II, on record, you worked with Nazis for the purpose of mind control, eugenics, chemical warfare, poisoning, biological warfare, covert assassinations, covert ops, on record. Okay, now let's not kid ourselves. He's one of the founders of the American Society of Human Genetics. You think that's a coincidence? So, you know, he was, you know, people have described eugenics as genetics, you know. It's a thin fucking line. And this guy advocated the examination of relatives of schizophrenia patients with the aim to find and sterilize the non-affected carriers of the supposed recessive gene responsible for the condition. Okay, he advocated sterilization of people with mental disorders that they do not understand now, and they certainly didn't understand in 1935. This guy is a Jewish eugenicist on record, one of the most famous psychiatrists in history, and he's a German Jew. I mean, come on record, these are Nazi collaborators. And in the clips earlier in this video, I said some of the Jews benefited from this and would throw themselves in the bunch. You know, Kallman, Gottlieb. These are major eugenicist mind control scum on fucking record. Say it with me. On fucking record. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting how you'll see white people pretending like it was all the Jews, and you'll see Jews pretending like it's all these Nazi people, and none of you want to take any responsibility. You know? What's wrong with you people, man? What's wrong with you people? How could you do this after this is being done, this has been done to your own people, and is being done on some of your own people? How could you do this? How could you be such scum? You know, you do it to other people, you do it to your own people, you would probably do it to the Son of fucking God. In fact, you betrayed the Son of God, you and the white people. And now you're doing eugenics on everybody because you're scum, because you're filth. You, Cameron, and the whole bunch of lowlifes. You're eugenicist scumbags on fucking record. And you're on the news crying about biological. I mean, don't you see the sick irony here? In a speech delivered in 1935 while still in Germany, he advocated the examination of relatives of schizophrenia patients with the aim to find and sterilize the non-affected carriers. This is before World War II even started, of the supposed recessive gene responsible for the condition. So Jews and white people before Hitler, on record, in America and in Germany and in Europe, were advocating sterilization and other common forms of eugenics. Okay? And then you get this guy on the news, let me see, I think it was this one where let's see if I can go back to it. Go back to it. Okay, and then you got this guy on the news, right? Listen to what he says.
It's not fair that...
Yeah, it isn't fair. I agree. It's not fair that you won't take responsibility.
He looked up at them.
That you set people up to die when they've offended, when they've done your people wrong, fucking like 70 years ago.
I think that, Michael...
You know? But you won't take responsibility for what you're doing right fucking now. You know, you're right. It isn't fair.
Went out to interview him, and he came out with a... Kolnhofer was... In broken English, he said...
Anyway, you heard the part earlier about the biological solution. You know, the things the Jews are doing to all of us right now. Thank you.